There's a thrill to owning pets. With dogs, it's that unconditional love that they give you, even when you scold them for pooping in the house yet again. With cats, it takes a while for them to pick their human and work their way up to being comfortable sitting on your lap. We've had the twin polydactyl cats for 3 years now, and it's only been in the last few months that Charlie has become Mr. Super Snuggles and will now lie on my chest for about 20 minutes. And when you lose them, especially if you have to make that gut-wrenching decision to end their suffering, it's heartbreaking for pet owners. It feels like you're losing a child. We lost Pico, our pug, on Monday, May 11th, about 3 weeks after he was diagnosed with pancreatitis and diabetes. Pico was our grief dog. When we lost our beloved Chihuahua Woozy at age 14, I was just beside myself. I could not get a handle on things. I was crying all the time, was looking at pictures and videos. Woozy had lost her ability to go outside on her own and was panting, as if she were struggling to inhale air. And Dawn and I knew it was time, and it was my first time assisting a pet with passing. And I wasn't prepared for the experience and how quickly they go. And since Woozy, we've had to make these difficult decisions with our dog Cookie 3 years ago, our cat Fender 5 years ago, and now with Pico last Monday. We also had a street cat named Midnight that passed from a heart attack while playing with the other cats, and I will never forget the loud cry out of his mouth before hearing his body fall to the living room floor. We rushed him to the emergency vet, but we both knew that he was gone, as my husband held him in a towel on the way there. Our pug Pico's journey, it wasn't easy. When he was a baby, he had to have a hernia operation before we brought him home. Within a week of losing our Chihuahua, I was online searching for our next pup. Woozy and Pico were the only two purebred dogs that we did not adopt. All of our cats and our dog Cookie, they were all rescues. But my grief was stronger than my rationality, and within 2 weeks, I was at the Tampa airport picking up our tiny fawn-colored pug, and boy was he spunky from the beginning. He had a huge personality, and he showed it. When I brought him home, he immediately bonded with Dawn and with our pit bull mix Cookie. She was such a sweetheart. She was lovable and trainable and so gentle from the very beginning with Pico. She was so much bigger than Pico, so we watched them carefully in the beginning and guided her if she began to play too hard. They were inseparable. They slept together in the same caged-in area, which took up like a quarter of our dining room. And when we had to make the difficult decision to end Cookie's suffering from liver disease in April of 2023 and took her to Blue Pearl Animal Hospital for the procedure, Pico fell into a depression when we didn't come home with her. He kept searching for Cookie. He was crying and wanting to be alone. He showed no interest in any of his toys, and we felt so bad for him that we couldn't bring back Cookie or help him understand what happened. All we could do was sit with him and show our love and affection. And that's when we got Gator. I took Pico to PetSmart and I let him pick out a stuffed animal, and he chose Gator. He put Gator in his mouth and he would not put him down even at the register. Gator became his companion, and he made sure when he went outside to always grab Gator. Having Pico at times, it was very difficult and it was exhausting. And if you aren't familiar with the breed, some pugs scream and talk to you in their own language.
Pico, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? You don't know? What's wrong? What's that?
all they want is to be near you or under your feet. Pico wanted our constant attention, and he barked and screamed to get it. Our first night with Pico was rough. His bark was very much like a high-pitched shrill, and when he wanted something, he made sure to let you know. And believe me, Dawn and I, we did our research before we settled on a pug. But we had no idea that this little guy would be a chaotic goblin from day one. And I mean that in the most loving way. With the 3 dogs that we've owned, by age 4, they usually start settling down. Pico was the exception. He was a puppy the entire 9 years he was with us. We would take him outside where he had to find the perfect blade of grass, even if it took 10 minutes in the hot Florida sun before he would squat and pee. And then we'd bring him back inside where he would look us in the eye right before making a stinky brown deposit on the living room floor. Now, this wasn't an everyday occurrence, but it did happen. When Pico was 3 years old, a week after the world shut down in 2020, he began having seizures. And it started with him acting lethargic and extending his front paw. We rushed him to the emergency pet hospital, and as soon as we got there, he started seizing and he started rolling like an alligator does. And the hospital wouldn't let us in to be with him. He stayed in the hospital for a couple of days, and when he returned home, we started administering his Keppra pills 3 times a day. We ordered his pills through Pet Meds, as they were a lot less expensive than buying them at Walgreens or CVS. And eventually an extended release pill came out, and we got into the twice-a-day routine of giving it to him at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., which he took like a champ. During Pico's last few weeks is when we really started noticing some things, some signs of something being wrong. And he was panting more than usual.
Oh, baby.
He was drinking more water than usual. He had to pee a lot more. He was also a lot more demanding than usual. He stopped showing interest in his gator and other toys, and then he began vomiting. And it seemed like every time he went into the backyard, he was picking up fleas constantly. Now, we've been giving Pico some Purica that treats the fleas and the ticks and other critters for years now, and it has consistently worked. Pico also had this spot on his back that got infected rather quickly, and it oozed and it spread in a matter of 2 days. We took Pico to the vet, and they drew blood and said his numbers were all elevated. His white blood cell count was through the roof. Numbers that should have been in the single or double digits were tripled. Every year, Pico had his blood drawn to make sure all his organs were functioning as they should be, as his anti-seizure medications, they can cause problems with his organs. So he was always carefully monitored. But something changed between January and April, and he had developed pancreatitis and diabetes. And although we knew and confirmed with the vet that he would probably succumb to these illnesses, we wanted more time with him and to give him a fighting chance. We went home with a couple of antibiotics and some fluids that we would have to give to him subcutaneously, and prescriptions for insulin and needles. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. His care was intense, and it was pretty much around the clock, often waking up in the middle of the night for potty breaks and for food. The insulin made him hungry all the time, and we tried to supplement his food with low-fat prescription wet food and some low-sugar foods such as cucumber and blueberries and eggs and a little bit of apple. But it felt like a Band-Aid. I mean, he was still drinking excessive amounts of water. He was peeing every 10 to 20 minutes, having accidents in the house, even right after we took him out to pee. and he was losing weight and constantly hungry and demanding food every hour. He was restless and couldn't get comfortable. We decided to take him off the insulin 2 days before his passing. Pico hated the injections, even though we were taught how to administer them twice a day. The weight loss was concerning as well. And within those 2 days, he started vomiting again. And then on the morning of May 11th, one day after Mother's Day, we called Lap of Love Veterinary Hospice and In-Home Euthanasia. This was the first in-home euthanasia that we had with our pets. And Dawn and I both agreed that it was our preferred method of helping our pets pass in the comfort of their home. We spread puppy pads on our living room floor as Pico was vomiting several times on his last day, and he couldn't keep anything down. Both Dawn and I, we got down on the floor with him after taking off of work for the rest of the afternoon, and we held him, we talked to him, we told him how much we loved him, and how much Cookie is looking forward to seeing him again. The vet arrived around 5 p.m. dressed in plain clothes with a doctor's satchel and a stethoscope around his neck. The vet confirmed some details, such as the name of our primary vet, Pico's illnesses, and our request for a paw print and private cremation. We took care of the credit card charge before the vet arrived so that we could focus on what was important, which was Pico. The vet asked us if we had gone through this process before with any pets and said that he could walk us through every step in detail or just in general, which is what we chose. Pico is leery of strangers, so we took a few minutes to settle him down, and the vet talked to him and he petted him. We then turned Pico around to face me while the doctor gave the first injection, which is a combination of a sedative and pain meds. The sedative is similar to what you would experience under general anesthesia, and it took about 3 minutes for the injection to kick in. And as Pico was starting to relax, the vet helped him slide from a seated position into lying down by gently gliding his paws out in front of him. Dawn and I put our hands on Pico as we wanted to feel his last breath, just as we had done with Cookie 3 years ago. The doctor then put a small tourniquet around Pico's front left paw. He shaved a small area of the paw for better access to his vein and inserted a butterfly needle into his little paw. He then started administering the pink euthanasia medication, which is an overdose of barbiturates, which stops the heart and lungs. Pico didn't feel a thing as he was under anesthesia from the first medication. And as with our other pets that we have helped pass, it was quick. It only took 30 seconds for them to stop breathing. And the vet warned us that pets pass with their eyes open, which was the case with Pico. The vet then confirmed Pico's passing by listening with his stethoscope to his heart, and then he gave us a few minutes with Pico while he went to his car to grab a wicker basket and a blanket to transport Pico to the crematory. We had the option of holding the basket and walking out to the car with the vet, or just walking out there with him to say our final goodbye. And that's what we did. Our hospice vet, Dr. Jeff, he was absolutely amazing. He was kind and soft-spoken and empathetic and comforting. And although in-home euthanasia is not cheap, it's just under $1,000, Dawn and I thought it was well worth it to let Pico pass without further anxiety of having this done at the vet, which was a place he didn't like going to, and he would always hide underneath the chairs. I now see why people prefer the hospice route in the comfort of their own homes, surrounded by family and friends when it's time for them to pass. And I wish that we all had that option of a respectful and peaceful passing as we are able to give our fur babies. Dawn and I still need time to grieve, as Pico will most likely be our last dog. And Dawn and I have been together for nearly 20 years and knew each other a few years before that. And in that time, we have never not owned a dog together. I've had dogs in my life for the past 30 years. So we're entering new territory, and the silence in our house is just deafening. And we're still finding our footing and a new routine. and I need more time to process this before I start creating regular content again. But please stick with me. I will be back. Please love on your furry friends and your human ones as well. Hasta luego, my friends.